If you were unaware, my Dallas Cowboys took down the Philadelphia Eagles. And my biggest takeaway, and we'll discuss this from the Eagles' point of view and Dallas's point of view. I'm going to get right to the point. I want to gloat a little bit, but I'll save that afterwards. But let's just go ahead and get to the point. As long as I've been covering the Cowboys from, specifically from the Mike McCarthy era, even I was thinking about when Jason Garrett was the head coach. Never has a Dallas Cowboys team made a comeback like they did yesterday. I know a lot of people were saying that this was the biggest comeback in franchise history. It's actually tied. It happened back in 1999. But this is a testament of how big of a win yesterday was for the Dallas Cowboys. Granted, I'm not one of those. Do I have the fan in me thinks this team can run the table and win 5 out of the next two, 4 out of the next 2? I don't know. But if we really think about it, it's a big win just for the culture. What the Cowboys they're trying to build towards something going into next year. And your team, you go down 21-0, and historically, specifically in the Mike McCarthy era, we've seen the Cowboys go on to get blundered, losing 40-1. Sorry, not 40-1, but 40-10, 40-14. It was 21-7 going into halftime. And even going into halftime, saying like, man, this is just a long feat. I mean, you're even playing an Eagles team who, historically, when they get leads like this, they are able to hold on to them. And the Dallas Cowboys are normally front runners and they're never able to come back. But yesterday they were able to come back, led by Dak Prescott and even though he had a couple of errant throws, but majority of the game he was excellent. George Pickens continues to show his case for being a legit number 1 wide receiver and continuing his path to earning number 1 type money. I know last week we discussed on Saturday roughly, about the Brandon Ayuk and him getting paid all that money he did. And I said, look at George Pickens in comparison to Brandon Ayuk. Brandon Ayuk was paid $30 million. If you compare, just look at the highlights. Look at the capabilities of George Pickens in comparison to Brandon Ayuk as a number 2 receiver. I'm dropping the bag on George Pickens all day and every day. Brian Schottenheimer, Dallas. It seems like this marriage for George Pickens has been great. It's worked out. The change of scenery, all that is good. And George Pickens balled yesterday. I mean, absolutely balled. He had a touchdown, and he just made big plays after big plays. The big catch over Cooper DeJean, getting double teamed. Like, he was making plays yesterday. And he made the big play to close out the game yesterday for the Cowboys. The O-line held their ground. We were hearing things about Jalen Phillips and Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis. Yeah, their names were getting called early on. But shout out to the offensive line for the Cowboys, Tyler Booker, even though he got hurt. Not Tyler Booker, Tyler Guyton, even though he got hurt. Tyler Booker, I saw some of his tape today, roughly this morning. He done an exceptional job against Jalen Carter. Jalen Phillips, didn't hear much out of him yesterday. Terrence Steele, Holden. They did a great job yesterday. And even on the D-line, they went to work against that Eagles offensive front. Quinnen Williams, he had a season high 8 pressures yesterday. Osa Odigizua got a big sack on Jalen Hurts to give the Cowboys back the ball to win the game. This team kept making big plays. CD, on the other hand, buddy, we got to get together. Like, CD was absolutely, outside of everything that happened yesterday, CD Lamb was the only negative that I can really think of. And that's pretty good, saying that this is a guy in CD Lamb who you've been able to count on for the last 4 years. So if CeeDee Lamb's your problem, and CeeDee Lamb's problem right now is just catching the football, that's one problem you want to have if you're the Dallas Cowboys. This was a textbook Dallas Cowboys win. It is something that is super uncharacteristic, and it is something to think. Does Jerry actually have the right players and the right pieces? Was the Micah Parsons move legit and validated because of all the question marks? And we've heard the internal noise within the locker room about Micah Parsons being an absolute headache. Getting him out of that locker room, you get those extra 2 first-round picks. You add in Quinnen Williams. There was a clip of Sam Williams post-game talking about how, Overshawn and Williams and all these guys got together in halftime before the coaches even got into the locker room and was like, guys, we got to do a job. Like, we can literally turn this game around. And it seems like that trade is going to work out, and you're fixing to get 2 first round. The future of the Dallas Cowboys is super bright. Super bright. And we got to give credit to Brian Schottenheimer for the win yesterday. We got to give credit to Dak. Got to give some credit to Jerry Jones. This team, if you watched them yesterday, they're just missing a couple of pieces. But the Dallas Cowboys had a huge win yesterday. It was uncharacteristic. The Dallas Cowboys under Mike McCarthy, they lose that game 10 times out of 10. But the Brian Schottenheimer Cowboys, they have heart. Look at the clip of Elijah Clark on the punt return. The kid had heart. Tyler Booker, he said every time that he went up to Dak Prescott, he told Dak Prescott, believe. These guys have a mentality for winning, and Brian Schottenheimer is establishing that, and it is getting within the locker room, and they are soaking it up. And it's led by somebody in Quentin Williams, who was Dallas's trade acquisition. That was getting questioned by everybody. And the move seems like it has worked out. They did not let Saquon Barkley do anything yesterday. He was literally non-existent. And Dallas comes out with a big win. And they continue to give themselves life. You come back 21-0, and you get this energy leading into Thanksgiving. And you get a chance to show in front of your fans. You get a chance to show up and beat a 3-time Super Bowl champion in Patrick Mahomes on Thanksgiving. So that matchup is setting up, as Greeny and everyone today in ESPN said, that matchup is leading up to be the most watched game in NFL history. There is no doubt in my mind I think it will be. After what the Chiefs did, and we're going to get to them in the next segment, but after what the Kansas City Chiefs did yesterday, coming back and then Dallas coming back, that game is set up to be an all-time high. Great game. But let's move on it from Philadelphia's point of view. And I really think Philly can be the bigger headline coming out of this game because me personally, I feel like Dallas, even though my heart says, and I said it earlier, my heart says they can make a run, but analytically and logically, they just put themselves in too deep of a hole for a legitimate playoff push. But this game really had a lot to say about Philly. Because if we look at how this team played, this offense and A.J. Brown seems to be validated week in and week out. This offense is not getting resolved. We are fixing to be in Thanksgiving. And for some reason, the Philadelphia Eagles have moments, and we've seen it multiple times in multiple games this season when we think about the Vikings, the Broncos, the Rams. We've seen halves where the Philadelphia's offense is absolutely surgical, and we saw it yesterday. A.J. Brown getting all these targets, Devontae Smith, deep ball, like they were making plays. And then in the next half, they don't know how to play offense anymore. They don't know how to play football. Kevin Patullo, did you forget how to call plays? Like all these question marks seem to come up every single game. It is week 12 going on week 13. You got a big matchup against the Bears on Friday for the Black Friday game. And that team there, they're going to be ready to play too. Why is it that this is a common theme week in, week out when it comes to Philly? I do not understand it. And something that is very glaring as well, and people keep bringing it up, and Darren Orlowski had a great tweet that he said this morning. Saquon Barkley has as many negative runs as Ashton Genty for the Raiders, a rookie who is running behind the worst offensive line in football. Granted, the Eagles' offensive line is nowhere near as dominant as they were last year and the year before that when they went to the Super Bowl back in 2023. But this should be a top 5 to 7 offensive line. Cam Jurgens, he's okay. You still got Mailata. Lane Johnson's hurt at the moment. You got Eric Dickerson. And yesterday, they were not able to run the football. Eric Dickerson made this comment. Somebody in Philadelphia media, a beat writer, asked him, why can't we get the run game going? And his excuse was, we weren't prepared for a 5-man front from the Dallas Cowboys. That's a Nick Sirianni problem. Where's the preparation? This offense for Philly is mind-boggling They can't even run the football with Saquon Barkley, someone who's coming back for running 2,000 yards. And even yesterday, and we got to put a little bit of the blame on Saquon Barkley, because you look at a couple plays in the open field when he got the ball, and he was letting Overshawn, and this is no slight against Overshawn. You know, Overshawn's a great linebacker. I mean, he's super talented, but he's coming off of two ACLs. And he pretty much blew his knee out last year. And a guy, Saquon Barkley, who is one of the most elusive backs you can find in the history of the NFL, and he was getting tackled into open field yesterday by Demarion Overshawn. Like, there is something psychological that is going on with this Philadelphia team. It's to me, it's far past X's and O's when it pertains to the players, but it is X's and O's for the coach. Because it makes no sense that Saquon Barkley played the way he did yesterday. Like, it just made no sense to me. But ultimately, I don't think this team is winning the Super Bowl. They are spiraling on offense week in and week out. And Jalen Hurts, you can keep going to the podium week in and week out and say, we're going to figure it out. Dude, it is week 12 going on week 13. You have roughly 4 or 5 games left in the season. If you look around the NFC and all the firepower on offense that your defense is going to have to go up against, you're going to have to score some points. When you're facing all the elites in the NFC, you can't go out there and do what you did against Dallas. You can't spot them 24 unanswered points. I think their last 8 drives, they punted 6 times and turned and fumbled twice. Something along those lines. It is just absolutely disastrous what happened in Philly yesterday. I would love to be on a fly on the wall for local media in Philly. I know they were having an absolute field day with what happened yesterday. And I will get into more of this in a separate video. I want to talk about this game some more. We're going to go ahead and move on. But that was a big win for Dallas. And my heart wants to harp on, we got a chance, but Dallas has still put themselves in a big hole. But the thing with me always is, it's the Philadelphia Eagles. You got to be the Philadelphia Eagles. Okay? I despise Philadelphia Eagles, and ask my girlfriend yesterday, I got a legit attitude and was getting mad at the world yesterday because of how Dallas showed up in the first half to play football. I'm like, dude, out of all the games, you got the Super Bowl defending champs coming into your house in Jerry World, and they, you felt like you should have beat them in the first game, and you come out this lackluster to start the game. I was absolutely mad. And to my degree, I had no faith in them coming back in this game. Like, none. I had a little bit after they scored the one at halftime. I was like, okay, they scored the 7 points at halftime. But I feel like coming out of half, I feel like Jalen Hurts was fixing to go and walk the dog. But he didn't. Kudos to the Dallas Cowboys. That was an absolute huge win.